and welcome to Mind Matters with Manoshanti, where we discuss topics related to mental health, well-being, and the skills that we need to use to lead a balanced and meaningful life, one brief podcast at a time. I'm your host, Manasi, and today we are bringing to you a very special episode uh, in honor of World Suicide Prevention Day. Our focus today is on life skills, the practical and emotional tools that help us cope with stress, build resilience, and navigate life's challenges in healthy ways. To help us explore this important topic, I'm absolutely honored to be joined by two distinguished psychiatrists who have been at the forefront of mental health care and suicide prevention. First, we have Dr. Srikala Bharat, a retired professor of psychiatry from NIMHANS, Bangalore. Dr. Srikala has extensive experience in clinical psychiatry, suicide prevention, and life skills training. Not only has she worked with diverse populations teaching life skills, but has been a pioneer and a key advocate for integrating life skills education into mental health care.
Thank
Sorry.
you. Thank you. Nancy.
Um, Next up, we also have Dr. Sugnyani Devi Patil, a highly respected and experienced psychiatrist with a super specialization in child and adolescent psychiatry from NIMHANS. Dr. Sugnyani has been involved in multiple community initiatives focused on suicide prevention and mental well-being. Uh, I welcome both of you, Dr. Srikala and Dr. Sugnyani.
Good evening, ma'am.
Um,
Good evening.
yes.
Good evening, Manasi, and good evening, Sugnyani.
Good evening,
Yes,
ma'am.
and
Good
yes,
evening.
thank you both for taking the time to be with us today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. All right, so to begin with, I want to understand the concept of life skills. All right, and so when we say life skills, what does it really mean in everyday life?
Yeah. Uh, Life skills means we have in everyday many skills like cooking skill, driving skill,
Mm-hmm,
or planning skills, and all this thing. But if it comes to the life skills, like in view of mental health, it's like
mm-hmm,
mainly to have a psychosocial component. Like if you are facing with the stress, then how to handle it, and how to solve the problem, and how to get
mm-hmm,
adjusted in the community,
mm-hmm,
and take good decisions, and communicate well with other people, okay,
mm-hmm.
and bounce back from the everyday's life stressors.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, it is essentially any skill that will help a human being deal with day-to-day life stressors. Srikala ma'am, would you like to add something to this? Is my
I think,
understanding correct, or would you add
yes,
something?
yes. See, when we talk about skills, skills are spread over every aspect of our daily living and
Mm-hmm,
over our lifespans.
mm-hmm,
So, many of the skills which we talk about have a commonality. For example, Sugnyani talked about cooking and other skills. And we also have academic skills,
mm-hmm,
career skills. So many of these skills have components which sort of overlap each other. And these overlapping are, for example, if you are in the academic skills and there is a physics problem which has been worded in a very different manner, the person who's taking the examination has to think about it very logically and
mm-hmm,
then find out a different way that is a very creative way of addressing or
mm-hmm,
coming to a solution, make those decisions and solve the problem. And
mm-hmm,
similarly, so you can see in an academic skill or a career skill, this
mm-hmm,
becomes there are four skills which have already been addressed. And if you see there, while doing that, because it has been asked in a very challenging and a very different manner, there'll
mm-hmm,
be a lot of anxiety, there'll
mm-hmm,
be a lot of stress, which the
mm-hmm.
person has to deal with, isn't it? So then
Right.
you would find that coping with stress and emotion becomes part and parcel of the whole exercise in those 3 hours of examination. So whether it is your academics or
Mm-hmm,
whether it is your career or
mm-hmm,
whether it is your cooking, even in cooking, suppose somebody says, I don't want this upma, but I want something new. So you need to sort of critically think, what is it that I have, which I can make, and sort of stir up your creativity to make the same thing into a very different, very beautiful, very attractive, very tasty, and
Mm-hmm.
worry whether this would go to the child, whether the child would like it, so feel anxious, deal with the stress, make the decision, and solve the problem. So we are now talked about almost six skills, which
Different
are of
skills.
part of it is thinking skills, which is
Mm-hmm.
thinking and creation, addressing, knowing a problem, and
Mm-hmm.
solving the problem, which is behavior, and then dealing with your own emotions and stress. Okay, so these are very, very common to almost all aspects of our life. But when it comes to mental health and interpersonal relationship, we have two more of it. Okay, in interpersonal relationship, what happens is we don't live in an island.
Mm-hmm.
We always live in groups. Okay.
Yes.
So the relationship becomes very important. And any relationship which is not reciprocal,
Mm-hmm.
trustful, trustworthy, transparent,
Mm-hmm.
respectful. So if these are the components of any relationship, and that needs a lot of nurturing. To
Mm-hmm.
do that, the communication need not be oral. It could be
Mm-hmm.
any sort of communication, even if it is an email, even if it is a phone call, even if it is a gift. So these become very important in when you deal with other people. For this, you should know, unless you know yourself, you will never know the other person, isn't it? In the end, all these things go towards how well you deal with any difficulty or any advantages. Suppose I have got a promotion. How do I deal with that? So, in the end, it all boils down to how you look at yourself, how you deal
Mm-hmm.
with things outside, and how you deal with the people. So, these are
Right.
the skills which we are talking about when it comes to mental health, but they cut across all areas in life.
Right. That was a lovely explanation, Dr. Sugnyani and Dr. Srikala. My my understanding from whatever both of you have said is that life skills then seem to be important for all age groups, right? But I feel they are most important for adolescents and young adults because that is where they deal with a lot of different kinds of stressors, life transitions and other things like that. So, and also going by the fact that, suicides are the highest among, young adults, right, currently in India, and, in the going up to, mid 30s or, even early 40s. So, in the context of suicide prevention, why are life skills particularly important?
Yeah. As you told that adolescent period is a lot of stress and storm, and it's a
Mm-hmm,
transition between childhood and adulthood. Okay,
mm-hmm,
and during this period, a lot of changes happens in their brain and the body.
mm-hmm,
Lot of hormonal changes and
mm-hmm,
lot of changes in the brain. Like as we know that inner brain is developed early, which
mm-hmm,
handles more of emotions, experience seeking, those kind of things. But the outer brain develops later, like 25 to 28 years. The outer brain has more of controlling part, like when how to solve the problem, how to make a decision, how to control their impulsivity. Okay,
mm-hmm,
because that is not developed fully in adolescent, it's still developing. That's why they are very risky. They are very risky period, and they will have more of impulsivity. Because of that, they may end up in having suicide.
mm-hmm.
That's why it's very important to teach them resilience, handle the stress, and handle their emotions. Okay, and to smoothly overcome this adolescent period.
Right, right. Srikala ma'am, do you have something to add to this?
Yeah, I think what I totally agree with Sugnyani because this is a very, very difficult period where the brain is developing and the life demands which they have. are also very, very challenging, because often they themselves do not know whether they are children or adults. And the parents also do not know whether they are children or adults. And the whole, the consumerism is sort of
Hmm.
developed around children to sort of woo them, whether it is the cell phone or it is the Instagram or the shorts,
Hmm.
everything is attractive to the thing. And this is something which every adolescent should understand themselves about what stage they are in.
Hmm.
Because one of the things which happens is you are giving them new tools.
Hmm.
The nature is giving them, there are two periods in life. If I have to take one step backwards, Manasi, there are two stages in life where things go from a very different plane to a different plane.
Hmm.
One is puberty,
Hmm.
and the
Right.
next thing is menopause.
Hmm.
That is an evident thing, physiologically, everything. And somehow, for some reason, nature has made it very clear.
Hmm.
And so, when it comes to puberty, where adolescence is sort of, we talk about adolescence, there is a significant difference, a significant jump in the way somebody thinks, are able to think,
Hmm.
able to feel much more nuances of emotions, of romance, passion, anger, rage,
Hmm.
patriotism, commitment, a lot of compassion, a lot of revenge, all these things, and then very focused interest in things like I'm good at art. All these things sort of seem to happen, and the brain, in some way, in the background, is sort
Hmm.
of rearranging itself towards that which is, sort of brought out in the adolescent. And
Hmm.
the society also, to certain extent, sort of, so there is a feedback channel between the adolescent who's behaving according to the development which is happening in the brain, sort of
Hmm.
with the substrate of the brain changes, the adolescent is doing, and then there is a feedback from the parents, from the
Hmm.
neighbors, from the society, from the world, from the social media. So
Hmm.
all these things, and it may say, okay, so what? Yeah, this person is a new person. So what? Is a question which somebody can ask. But what is very important is the next period of life is rather a very large duration of life,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
from 21 or 22 or 23 till 45 or 50.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
later these days, because of this generation. That long period, any decision, major decision, in the form of dropping out of school, falling in love with the wrong person, or
Hmm.
taking vengeance, deciding to use drugs, or attempting a suicide, all
Hmm.
these major things, eloping, all these things can change the life trajectory of that adolescent. The
Yes.
same thing can happen positively also.
Right.
It's not only bad things can happen. When somebody is an adolescent, somebody says, yeah, my parents want me to become an IT professional, but I think I'm extremely good in music. I think I
Hmm.
can, sort of take the world along like Lata Mangeshkar
Hmm.
with me. And they can sort of flower very well artistically. Or somebody says, I like economics. That's
Hmm.
the area I should go. So it could be anything. Or somebody says, this is not what I want. I want to go and work in the community at the grassroots level. So it could be both positive,
Hmm.
but it could be negative also. But what
Hmm.
is important as a message, what we need to understand is the decisions which are
Hmm.
taken over adolescence need to follow the life skills which never comes alone. No
Hmm.
life skill. When you want to think about something very, very deeply, both critical, analytical thinking and thinking it from a different perspective has to happen. You need to check with your friends. which is interpersonal relationship. You should
Yeah.
know your self-awareness. You should know whether you can do it. That's your
Hmm.
self-awareness. You
True.
should be knowing your other questions.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then that is coping with stress and emotion. So unless they become master in all these things, many people may have knowledge about some of these things.
Hmm. Hmm.
There is a very big step between knowing and
Hmm.
doing. In the
Hmm.
end, skills are all doing.
Right.
Doing with awareness, not by chance, by choice. So, an adolescent, when he or she makes a decision, a major life, we are not talking about today, should I go and have pizza or bed puri? That is not what we are talking about.
Hmm.
We are
Hmm.
talking of life changing decisions,
Mm-hmm.
including attempting a suicide or a deliberate self harm, cutting the wrist. So, those decisions, unless somebody has got into the ability of becoming aware of what they are doing and giving it some thought, it becomes a very knee jerk reaction based on what is happening to to her or him in the external world. Whereas we want them to say, okay, something good or bad has happened. Wait, let me think about
Hmm.
it. And then do things rather than rush into it, with blinkers on.
Right. Great. So from both of you, what I have got so far is that life skills are important at all stages of life, but particularly during adolescence as well as so puberty as well as menopause. Right. And that there are so many different life skills that both of you have already spoken of, right? Like so there is academic skills, there's decision making, there's problem solving. So if both of you had to pick three life skills, okay, that and this I'm doing so that we make it as relatable as possible to the listeners or the ones who are watching this podcast. So if you had to pick three life skills that everyone should learn to cope better with stress, which ones would you choose? Because there are so many of them. But if you were to you were asked that what are the three life skills anyone should master to be able to cope with stress, what would you say?
Yeah.
Need to cope with stress. Okay,
Yeah.
go.
One is, first of all, we should be knowing ourselves, the self-awareness. Okay.
Okay,
Knowing our
self-awareness.
emotions and
Hmm.
knowing our
Hmm.
behaviors, feelings, thoughts. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like if one person is getting stress means, what are
Hmm.
the things which making them stressful? Okay.
Hmm.
And what happens in them when they are
Hmm.
stressful? Okay. And how it is affecting them and the outer world. The
Okay.
self-awareness plays very important role.
Okay.
After that, solving the things, problem solving.
Okay.
After knowing the stress, the cause and the consequences, then coping, uh,
Hmm.
uh, facing, like solving the problem, taking a
Hmm.
smaller steps,
Hmm.
which is causing a stress.
Right.
Okay, the problem solving is the second one. And the
Hmm.
third one is effectively communicating with other people. Because we have
Mm-hmm.
to see that we are not alone in this world. Okay, we have family, friends, and the professionals to help us. Okay, and talking about our feelings with other
Hmm.
person
Hmm.
may help, like having good, effective communication, good interpersonal skills will
Mm-hmm.
help us to uh, cope with this stress effectively.
Hmm. Okay, so from Dr. Sugnyani, we have self-awareness, problem solving and coping, and effective communication, especially in the context of interpersonal relationships. Fantastic. Dr. Srikala, ma'am, would you please add three of your own skills?
Sugnyani brought in almost all the skills.
She did. She
Okay,
did.
she sort of squeezed in, everything. So one of the way I would sort of, because she has already mentioned very clearly why we need to do, what are the skills which are important, I would rather take a different way of explaining it. Because why I say that is, people need both. Sugnyani's explanation is great because she has sort of started with self awareness, which is very, very big. Okay, So if the child understands, adolescent understands, even adults understand themselves good, then a lot of issues, can actually be dealt with very effectively once they are really aware of what their strengths and weaknesses are. But I'm having a different look as a mental health professional. When I see as a mental health professional, we have schools, we have parents, okay, we have neighbors. So, in all these, because that's why I started my initial talk with saying there are academic skills, there are career skills, and a lot of these things are stressed there also. In school, they definitely, apart from giving you a lot of information, they teach you logical, reason, analytical skills,
Mm-hmm.
which is critical thinking.
Right.
And they also, by their projects and other things, they also to certain extent teach you creativity and problem
Hmm.
solving. Okay, so those are done there. Okay,
Hmm.
only thing is, so these four are done by most of the academic and career related spheres. What is very rarely taught now these
Hmm.
days is how to communicate.
Hmm.
Especially, I find that we live in a in what used to be a daily activity of walking, difficulties have become stressors now. We are in a highly different sort of a globalized comfort world, that what used to be, children used to walk to school, skip meals, okay, wear only have two dresses probably and get only one dress throughout the year. Okay. But all those things have become stressors now.
Hmm.
So daily active. So if we have to address this, I think what is very much needed is, I would say, understanding this stress can be handled,
Hmm.
and then, how to handle it. And towards that, we need to take support. That's where
Mm-hmm.
this interpersonal relationship for me, and towards that, to encourage that interpersonal relationship, we
Hmm.
need communication.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
find very many times that adolescents and children, the way they communicate, suppose somebody asks me, what is your basic way of communicating with anybody? Whether I
Mm-hmm.
communicate with my teacher, whether I communicate with my student, or I communicate with the person who helps me in my home, or when I go to the market and then there I negotiate for the greens. I
Hmm.
need to have a basic way of communicating, and which is sort of respectful to them and to me.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the things which I think many of the schools and setups do not address. They also do not address rage and anger.
Mm-hmm.
So, this communication skills and interpersonal skills, along with, which is part and parcel of the self awareness, is something which I think is very, very important, because nowadays we live in home, working from home society.
Hmm.
So we have these, I'm not saying they are not important, that critical thinking, creative thinking, problem solving, decision making, I am just holding it because somebody else is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But this, some of the corporate world does communication skills. I know that.
Right.
But the interpersonal relationship, when we have a variety of interpersonal relationship, especially how do you communicate with your parents, how do you communicate with authoritative figures, how do you communicate or build a relationship with people who are below you, above you, and how do you do with your friends, how do you do your appraisals, your own mental appraisal, not by the boss. These are all things I think, and when you know that your friend has got an incentive or the first mark, but you haven't got it, but he or she is your best friend.
Yep.
All these things need a lot of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you talk about logical thinking and an analytical thinking, most of the students seem to understand that very, very well. Hey, and hey, come on, do it differently also. They seem to understand that. But when you say that, how do you show me how you talk with your mother? There
Hmm.
comes a very big. I may be wrong, but I have felt this need whenever I see young people, um, either through my work or through my family contacts and friends contacts. So Sugnyani has talked about self-awareness and coping. I think, but I think there is a need for stress on communication and interpersonal relationship.
Right. So if somebody, and both of you have stressed on communication and interpersonal relationship skills. So if somebody wants to improve their interpersonal relationships and improve their communication, where do you recommend they start? Like, just give us one starting point where, you think someone can start off by, practicing that one thing so that they are better able to communicate or, have better interpersonal relationships.
Yeah. In this context, the empathy is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing others' views, if it is
Mm-hmm.
different from your view also, and respecting their views also. At the same time, respecting your views. Empathy is a very important thing to maintain communication and effective relationship, interpersonal relationship, and
That's a great point.
listening,
Okay.
active listening.
Right. Right. So listen to understand and not to respond.
Yeah.
So there's active listening and empathy. Okay. That we have from Dr. Sugnyani, Srikala ma'am. Somebody wants to start
You said, where
practicing.
do we start? I thought when you say where do you start, I thought you're asking for a behavioral, you
Yes,
know,
ma'am. That would be also very
recommendation.
helpful. Yeah, that would also
Yeah,
be very
I
helpful.
always tell students or young people who come for therapy, okay, I ask them, do you know your mother's or your father's favorite color?
Very
Okay.
interesting. I'm
And
now
then
thinking whether I know my mom's favorite color.
I
and
also
then
thinking the same thing.
okay. And and then there are some colors which they hate. They say
Yeah.
no. And then, so do you know that? So I always say very simple. Initially, they will say, Amma, madam, it sounds so drama-like. I say, doesn't matter. Just smile to yourself, but keep doing it. When you're having your breakfast in the morning, and many children have difficulties in having breakfast because the school starts so early,
Mm-hmm.
or when people from corporate sector come to me, I always tell them, if there is a mother around, if there is no mother, then for the corporate people, it will be either a girlfriend or a partner or a wife.
Mm-hmm.
To the younger people, there'll be a mother or a father.
Mm-hmm.
Choose only one person. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to do too many things. But when you're just sitting down for breakfast, turn to your mother and then ask, Amma, have you had your chai or coffee? You
Mm-hmm.
start with that, and
Right.
then we can increase it. You come back in the evening and then you say, Amma, did you have your chai or coffee?
Mm.
Are you able to rest? These are two just small questions.
Mm.
It may sound very artificial to you,
Mm.
doesn't matter, but try and do that. And
Well, that's, yeah,
once you
yeah,
start doing that, it will produce a chain reaction within your family.
right.
That doesn't mean you cannot fight with your mother. You can fight with your mother very well, but still ask that question.
Right, right. Well, yeah, that's a fantastic thing, something that you can start doing today. And so whether it's your mother or somebody else that's close to you in your life, just start out by asking them questions. You've probably ignored, some of these things for the longest time without even realizing it ourselves, that this is what we've been doing. So yes, that's a very practical, tip or suggestion. So thank you for that. Um, and now I'm going to get a little personal here. So as psychiatrists, like both of you are accomplished women, accomplished professionals, have a lot of experience under your belt, and um so as psychiatrists and at the stages of life that you both are at, what is one life skill that has helped you personally?
Yeah. Mainly the effective interpersonal communication and effective relationship with your own family and your
Mm,
colleagues and the community, neighborhood, which
mm.
makes you feel better and which makes you feel that you have support.
Support, right. Right. So interpersonal communication and good relationships is what Dr. Sugnyani is saying. Excellent. Ma'am, Srikala ma'am, what is
I
the one
also
life
agree.
skill that has really helped you?
Yeah. I think um, good interpersonal relationship and definitely, communication skills to certain extent. But at the same time, I think even in the interpersonal relationship, I always say that you need to have a relationship, especially a relationship like a very good friend, your best friend, or your parents, or your partner, or wife, or husband. These are very, very important, and even your sibs, because they
Hmm,
form the immediate circle. And I always say, when I have these relationships, I constantly, sort of remember, am
hmm,
I, is this a relationship in which I can trust? Is
hmm,
this a relationship where I'm transparent?
hmm.
When I say transparent, that doesn't mean that I have to dig things which happened from 40 years back and then tell them.
Right.
In a day-to-day thing, am I being transparent? And
Mm-hmm.
am I being respectful? And I expect all the three things towards me also. So that's
Right.
sort of a relationship, and then only I choose that relationship. And of course, the communication is, it's not that I am very good in communication all the time, but we try to be as much as possible adaptable and
Hmm,
open. Um, Many times it doesn't happen, but yes, but the attempt is always there. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
It is always work in progress. All life skills in our life,
Right.
however mature, however educated one may be, it's a life in progress.
It is a work in progress. I agree with that, ma'am, because I think life keeps throwing different kinds of challenges at you every year, every day practically, and so yes, it is work in progress. Having said that, look, both of you are suggesting are like ma'am said and like Dr. Sugnani also said, they are very simple day-to-day skills. Now, how do you think that these may especially because we're talking of suicide prevention, how do you think that these help in preventing a crisis?
Can I come first,
Yes, ma'am.
Manasi?
Yes,
Yes,
I
ma'am. Yes,
think, see, when you think about suicide, people need to understand, even an adolescent or a young person or an older person or vulnerable people where the rate of suicide is quite high. They need to understand who makes an attempt at suicide.
ma'am.
People think that every person who attempted suicide and completed suicide had some mental illness or had a trauma or a crisis.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Yes, people with mental illness, especially depression, or
Hmm.
people with other severe mental illness, form
Hmm.
part and parcel of the group which complete suicide. But they are not the largest portion of people who complete a suicide or attempt a suicide. There are other people who go through life events which they consider crisis, and
Hmm.
based on their personality is still developing, especially in adolescent.
Hmm.
They want to sort of show people that, so what we say, impulsivity.
Hmm.
Okay. And when it is repeated as a skill, it becomes a part and parcel of it, and suicidal attempts. So
Hmm.
impulsivity of doing something immediately because you feel that you have been wronged.
Hmm.
That is the other important issue. And even before that, we all need to remember that substance abuse Under the
Hmm.
influence of substance abuse, whether it is alcohol or narcotics or cannabis, people after a fight attempting
Hmm.
suicide, again, not
Hmm.
knowing, not being aware, critically thinking of the outcomes of that attempt. So again,
Hmm.
life skill is very much lacking there.
Hmm.
These people form a very large portion, whereas the people with mental illness, and at least they are under the care of some mental health professionals, family members, so who are vigilant. Whereas people
Hmm.
like this, because they are substance abusers, people around them have given up on them, no
Hmm.
longer respect them, and they make a suicidal attempt. That's a very important thing. And then
Hmm.
taking failures, you know,
Hmm.
stressors, lifespan stressors as crisis, and then doing it.
Hmm.
For example, somebody has failed in 10th
Hmm.
standard, or
Hmm.
a girlfriend has said, I don't want to marry you, I don't want to be your girlfriend.
Hmm.
The headmistress found you copying and then said, stand outside and I'm going to give you a suspension of 1 week. So,
Hmm.
in some way, there is a sense of being wronged and fall of faith,
Hmm.
loss of faith, and things like that. Such a manner, impulsively, there is a lot of anger, rage, uh, guilt, shame. And if somebody is not aware of their emotions and makes a suicidal attempt, and that brings in a lot of attention and care and everything, it can become, while it needs attention,
Hmm.
it needs to be dealt with very, very differently. Care, but also make the person, this is not the method. And then that's what, so we need critical thinking to
Hmm.
know, is this the best method?
Hmm.
Can I solve this? What are the other options available? Who attempts a suicide? A person who thinks that there is no other way except
Hmm.
that way, the corner way. So is there any other way of addressing my problems, which is creativity?
Hmm.
And if somebody has good relationship, talking, taking the support of you people whom you trust,
Hmm.
discussing the problem, you don't have to do whatever they say. Take ideas and see whether they
Hmm.
are workable for you. You
Hmm.
make the decision. Understand your emotions.
Hmm.
Understand your strengths and weaknesses.
Hmm.
And then, you know, see whether the whole thing is worth it, worth. There are some
Right.
people, there are studies which talk about children who have been abused, who do a
Hmm.
lot of, when it comes to later, it affects their personality, and they attempt non-suicidal, deliberate self-harm. We are not
Hmm.
talking about them now. We are more talking about people who have these three types of suicides: impulsive,
Hmm.
under the influence of substance, and also considering, that is, impulsivity is considering a failure or a difficulty as a major stress or a trauma, and then
Hmm.
attempting it. And then a small number of people who have mental illness, especially depression, and
Hmm.
somebody else with loneliness is also there. Elderly, mainly loneliness drives them. Illness and pain and
Hmm.
morbidity can lead to suicide.
Right. Right. So my understanding thus far is that life skills may not be a crisis intervention per se. Like at the moment of crisis, of course, there's other interventions that are immediately required.
Yes,
But
yes.
somebody who has been trained in some of these life skills, we may be able to prevent them from reaching this point of crisis. So that is what I understand from this. Mm, right. So how can families, schools and workplaces support these kinds of life skill building initiatives? Because I feel that both of you also mentioned how important interpersonal relationships are, and where are most of our interpersonal relationships? In the community, in the family. So, how can schools, workplaces, families, help build life skills?
Yeah. Like if you take a family, the first like parents has to model the children.
Hmm.
Like they have to
Hmm.
know like how to name their emotions, okay, and
Hmm.
how to cope their emotions effectively. Okay,
Hmm.
by this the child can model like how the parents are coping, like
Hmm.
they are coping adaptively or maladaptively. If the one
Hmm.
parent is getting stressed and harming themselves, then it's a maladaptive way of showing them. Okay, if
Right.
the parent know that I'm stressful and how to handle this and showing in an effective way, then the child can model the same way.
Mm-hmm.
In a school, as we have a lot of like school mental health
Hmm.
programs, like teaching them the life skills, handling the stress and improving their resilience, like
Hmm.
gatekeeper programs, like we can train the teachers to find out the early warning signs of suicide, and
Mm-hmm.
asking them to help the child when the child is
Hmm.
in crisis, and refer to the professionals if needed.
Hmm.
That will be very helpful in a school level.
All right. All right. Ma'am.
Manasi, you have to understand that when you talk about suicide, there are
Hmm.
different arms in dealing with preventing suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And life skills training is a major arm, which is a
Hmm.
preventive arm. But as you
Hmm.
said, then there are other arms when there is a suicide attempt. There are other arms, helplines, being
Hmm.
there, follow up. All those are gatekeeping training of the important people around. All those things are there for various other training. But all the aspects of prevention of suicide is not complete if you do
Hmm.
not do the life skills training.
Right.
Because if you're not going to give the vaccination
Hmm.
and you have the virus around, you do all
Hmm.
the other things, you put on a mask, you protect everything
Yeah.
else, but you have not protected the child with the mask. One arm is missing. Still, it is going to make the child vulnerable to whatever is available around. So,
Hmm.
life skills for suicide, life skills to avoid substance abuse, life skills to have better relationship. It is a sort of a all pervasive um, thing which we need in
Hmm.
schools, preschool, starting from school to undergraduate colleges and even beyond that. What Sugnyani said is very effective with younger children because for them, the family is all their world. But as
Hmm.
we come, but you also see that if you have to make it much more pan India, just
Hmm.
addressing only the family is not sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
You have to address large number of adolescents and children. So going through the schools, because we already have the infrastructure of the schools in our country, we have the system or syllabus of children studying, we have all these things set up. And now you already know that the national education policy, though
Hmm.
education in India has always focused mainly on the three R's.
Hmm.
It tests mainly the knowledge, especially the memorizing knowledge and the reflexes of answering questions in an examination and assesses them. It needs, NEP talks about holistic individual development,
Mm-hmm.
and there it talks about life skills. But
Hmm.
it is, you know, that though the NEP is part and parcel of the central government's, the education is a state government policy. If all the stakeholders, all the governments, if the stakeholders of all the states understand that we need to have a holistic education
Hmm.
and have a pan India with differences in cultures and language, a life skills model. When we say
Hmm.
life skills, it is not only about you know, things which with earlier people used to associate life skills with HIV, AIDS. We are not talking about that. We are talking about how to maintain good relationships, how to talk with people, how to think critically, how to think. So, what should I be thinking when there are difficulties I have? How should I communicate in a manner? How
Hmm.
can I look for options? These are all things which, and schools, if they have to do it in a very, very similar manner across the country, starting from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, you need to have a uniform syllabus.
Hmm.
And then teachers at various levels have to be trained.
Trained.
Or, or you need to have a separate line of
Hmm.
teachers who will be doing it with the children. And I have always said, you do not learn mathematics in one session or
Mm-hmm.
3 sessions. You learn mathematics over 12 years of your schooling.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, if I have to develop life skills effectively, unless
Hmm.
I hearing it, understanding it, I do activities in the school which teaches me certain skills. I go home and practice it, come back and report, and then, the idea of doing it in the school and at home is these are safe environment. But when they go out into the world,
Hmm.
they are pushed into the zoo.
Yes.
So you practice in a safe environment. When there is a test outside, that's what we
Hmm.
do with mathematics. We teach, learn from teachers, have
Hmm.
model exams, and then you go and take the exam.
Right.
So similarly, all these things happen there, and you practice it in the school, practice at home, but consistently with a person who knows how to teach life skills.
Right.
And if you do it for 12 years, I just, I'm sure
Hmm.
we would have a very different type of Gen Z
Right.
people.
Right.
They will be Gen Zs, but they would be differently because they will be more, logical, creative. They would
Mm-hmm.
be much better problem solvers, not depend only on AI. They would know how to talk with their mother
Mm-hmm.
respectfully, with a nanny respectfully. Challenge when somebody, an authoritative figure, challenges them, be assertive, hold on to their ground,
Hmm.
know how to deal with your own emotions and stress,
Mm-hmm.
and then also be empathetic. Empathy is a very, very big thing, so I won't even
Right.
go there. So I think
Right.
if you do it for 12 years,
Hmm.
I'm sure things would be very, very different.
Very different. Very different.
And the sad thing is we have so many models, so many manuals. Most of the schools, private schools, charge more, saying that we are doing life skills. But if you ask
Ah.
those children, nobody is doing anything. These are
Right.
all free periods, and schools do not want a uniform thing across the country. Time
Hmm.
tested, reviewed, evidence based. These are
Hmm.
all important things too, because we are dealing with live adolescents, youth.
Right.
Mm.
Right. So, ma'am, where you very beautifully explained the role that not only schools, but policy and at the systemic level, the government, the role that they can play, and we have it documented in the NEP. However, the execution of it still remains a little a challenge. And I do know that, ma'am, you and Dr. Sugnyani are working towards that and towards resolving part of that challenge at least. So this was a wonderful conversation. Now, just to close this topic, um, on Suicide Prevention Day, what hopeful message would you like to share with our listeners?
Yeah. Like the listener at the end of the day, they should be knowing themselves. They should be mindful, like how was their day. Okay. And if they get some thoughts or some emotions, they should feel
Hmm.
it's a normal thing. and not to be silent about it, and talk with someone who they trust. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if they get suicidal idea also, they should be talking about it openly,
Mm-hmm.
and they should get a support. They should not get stigmatized.
Mm-hmm.
And or they can do some of the things which help them temporarily, like they can talk with someone, or
Mm-hmm.
they can just do something which makes them happy, so
Mm-hmm.
that they will be able to overcome this period and able
Mm-hmm.
to handle this suicidal ideas better.
Mm-hmm. All right. So hanging in there, taking a pause
Yeah.
when you get such ideas, and riding out that time, and then seeking other help. That's what Dr. Sugnyani suggests. Thank you so much. And Srikala ma'am, what is the one message that you would like to give?
Agree with everything what Sugnyani said and the way you summarized it. Also, flip it every day. Think about two things which were good that day.
Right.
Sugar was a bit quarter teaspoon more in the coffee. That was tasting nice. I got a place to sit in the bus.
Right.
That was nice. No rains when I was coming back in Bangalore. That was
Right.
nice.
Right.
So every day, do a gratitude recognition or a journal.
Yeah. 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 I suppose that is very useful. So yes, to avoid acting impulsively and to also actually look for gratitude in your day-to-day life, and for nice things in your day-to-day life, which sometimes does, like ma'am said, it may initially feel a little artificial or forced, but once you start doing it, I think it starts to come naturally to you. Those are the messages that we have from our experienced psychiatrists. Thank you so much for talking to me about this. This was a wonderful conversation, and I hope that our listeners will benefit from it. With that, we sign off.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manasi. Thank you,
Okay.
Sugnyani, for being a
Yeah.
co-chair. Thank you.